is Rayline Coetzee from Bright Star Lifestyle, where we want to come alongside all peoples of all levels of life so that we can all together say yes to joy. I'd like to start off today to tell you a story about a crab. This crab was feeding on the seabed out in the open. He suddenly realized that he's getting too big for his skin, and he wondered what to do. So what this crab did is he went and he crawled under a rock where he could lie so that the outer shell of his body could crack so that he can grow a new skin and then get strong enough to go back onto the seabed. If we look in nature, we see the moon. Sometimes it's full, sometimes we just see a slither. If we look at the trees, sometimes they're full of leaves and sometimes they're bare. Somehow we think that we need to stay the same every day. Is it possible that it would be good for us to just hide away some days, allow our skin to crack, allow to grow a new skin? We're all aware of the pandemic at the moment. We're aware of the importance of mental health. And when this pandemic is over, we'll probably find that our mental health doesn't just grow back and just like in a second. We'll have to give ourselves time. In navigating this pandemic, there's two things that we can remember that can maybe help us. The first is to remember that we're all in it together, that our experience is collective. The second is that we don't deal with it in the same way. We don't move at the same pace. So some people will be ready to be integrated into society. Some won't. And both is okay. Navigate your own course. Don't compare yourself to others, because we experience the same pandemic, but in different ways. Our personalities are different. Our circumstances are different. In all of this is self-knowledge and self-compassion just so important. But what is self-compassion? Self-compassion we need because it's so easy to be tough on ourselves. Self-compassion is when we forgive ourselves, when we remember that we're not perfect, and when we show ourselves kindness, we practice self-compassion. Having compassion for yourself is actually not much very different than having compassion with other people. First thing that you need to do is to notice that you're suffering. The second is to be moved by your own suffering in a way that you can show warmth, care and kindness to yourself. And normally when you feel compassion for another, it means that you realize that suffering, failure and imperfection is part of the human experience. Also for yourself, not only for other people. There are three elements to self-compassion. The first, self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. In self-kindness, we remind ourselves that it is part of human nature not to get everything right, and to react to ourselves with acceptance, gentleness, tenderness, not criticizing or judging ourselves as not being good enough, but embracing the pain, the suffering, the imperfection as being part of being human. The next one is common humanity. With that, we say that part of the human existence is to experience pain, loss, suffering. If you look around you, you'll find somebody else going through the same or similar experience. And that is just how it is. All humans suffer. That means that we are mortal, we are vulnerable, we are imperfect. Self-compassion means recognizing that suffering and personal inadequacy as part of the human experience and being okay with it. The third aspect is mindfulness. That is practice. Now, we've spoken a lot about mindfulness, knowing what I'm experiencing in the moment. Self-compassion says, I'm not going to judge myself. Doesn't matter what I feel, what I experience. I'm not going to look at myself in a judgmental way. I'm going to be open. I'm going to be clear. I'm not going to ignore my pain, but I'm going to be compassionate about it at the same time. Having self-compassion means being able to relate to yourself in a way that is forgiving, accepting, and loving, even when the situation isn't optimal. To practice self-compassion involves finding a healthy balance between self-acceptance and working on self-improvement. The first tip for us to be more self-compassionate is to comfort your body. Go for a walk, eat something healthy, go and lie in your bed. Take deep breaths. Massage your own neck or head or hands. Be good to yourself. The next step is to forgive yourself today and the next day and the next day. There's no sense in punishing yourself for past mistakes. Accept yourself as being not perfect. There's no worth specific in being perfect. The most important thing is how we grow out of our being humanness. The third tip, treat yourself in the same way as you would treat a loved one or a child. Next time when you speak harsh to yourself, ask yourself, is that the way that I'll speak to a colleague, my loved one, my child? And the answer would be probably not, as you would know how destructive that would be. Two things that we need to remember. I'm human. So is everybody else around me. And that's okay. The next step is to watch out for automatic thoughts that come up. You might have to journal this. So every time you make a mistake or you're in pain or you suffer or whatever, there might be a thought coming up that's not helpful. Keep journal of it so that you can replace it with helpful thoughts. The next step, remember that you're not alone in your imperfection, the common humanity that we spoke about. Sometimes when we suffer, we feel that we're the only one going through it. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe your child is using drugs. Maybe you have colleagues that don't understand you. Maybe the work is just too much. If we look around us, we'll find that there's somebody that has gone through this before and survived. Just telling ourselves that we're not alone in this often helps us to have the courage, to have self-compassion. Give ourselves a little while just to acknowledge that this is not a comfortable place to be in, but we can do it and we can move ahead. Let go of the need for outside validation. We so often think that we have to react in a certain way because people see us in a certain way. Quite often this is not even true because they're not even noticing. And because we think people think, we react in a certain way. Let go of it. Be in contact with yourself with who you are, what you need, and live that truth and reach out to others while you do this. If you listen to this, you can probably imagine that self-compassion affirmations will be helpful. And remember, if you look at these tips and techniques that I've just spoke about, you can be as creative as you need to be so that you can show yourself self-compassion. I'm going to read a couple of self-compassion affirmations. As I go through it, listen, see which of those connect and which you can use. I would suggest choose 2 or 3 today and start affirming that you can have compassion with yourself, that you can be gentle, that you can give yourself some space to be human. The affirmations. I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to treat myself the way I would treat my best friend. I accept the best and the worst aspect of who I am. Changing is never simple, but it is easier if I stop being hard on myself. My mistakes shows that I'm growing and learning. It's okay to make mistakes and forgive myself. I am free to let go of others' judgments. It is safe for me to show kindness to myself. I deserve compassion, tenderness, and empathy from myself. Let's stop for a moment and give you time to think about this. Another technique that you can use is to write a letter to yourself. I'm now going to describe the different aspects of the letter. Think of your own life. Think of anything that you feel ashamed of, that you feel insecure or not good enough. It could be something related to your personality, your behavior, your abilities, your relationships, or any other part of your life. Once you identify something, write it down and describe how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel sad, embarrassed, angry? Be as honest as possible, keeping in mind that nobody will see what you write. The next step now is to write a letter to yourself, expressing compassion, understanding, and acceptance. Now you know what you want to write about. Be kind to yourself. Write to yourself as if you're writing to somebody that you really care about a lot. Remember that you're not perfect. You're not a superhuman. This is the perfect space to be kind and gentle with yourself. Right, I forgive myself for feeling as upset, hurt as I did earlier. I made a mistake. I snapped. I slipped a little today, and that's fine. Next time a situation like this comes around, I'll whatever you feel. Include in the letter mindfulness. Here are some possibilities. I felt angry, upset, impatient because of. I realize now that when whatever happened, I reacted in the moment and I felt regret or whatever afterwards. Looking back now, I notice my thoughts and feelings from earlier today. At the time, the situation made me feel. So mindfulness in this letter is to really also pinpoint what you've been feeling. And then, of course, go back to common humanity. Remind yourself that you're not the only one going through this. You're not the only one feeling this. Doing this means acknowledging, first and foremost, that you're not the only one experiencing these emotions. Give yourself some space. Be self-compassionate. Be as creative as you can. Be kind to yourself. Be patient. Fail. Start over. Keep going. May you find the space in yourself and in your life to be compassionate with yourself. Sometimes with fierce self-compassion. Sometimes with tender self-compassion. So that you will find a resilience and a motivation in yourself to experience joy on a level that you didn't know